A 13-year-old boy stands before a British officer during the American Revolution. The officer orders him to clean his boots. The boy refuses. In an instant, the officer swings his sword, cutting the boy's head and hand. The scars will remain for the rest of his life. That wounded frontier boy would grow up to become a war hero, a champion of the common man, and the 7th President of the United States. He would also become one of the most controversial figures in American history. Some Americans saw him as a defender of liberty. Others saw him as a man whose decisions caused great suffering. And in the end, one question would follow him into history. Was Andrew Jackson a hero of the people, or a warning of the power of a popular leader? Today, we're telling the story of Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was born in 1767 in the rugged Waxhaws region along the border between North and South Carolina. His parents were Scot-Irish immigrants. Life on the frontier was difficult. Families worked hard, lived simply, and depended on one another for survival. Before Andrew was born, tragedy struck. His father died, leaving his mother to raise 3 boys alone. The American Revolution arrived when Andrew was still a child. Unlike many future presidents, Jackson did not grow up in wealth, privilege, or formal education. He grew up surrounded by war. At just 13 years old, he joined the Patriot cause as a messenger. Then came the moment that would shape the rest of his life. Captured by British troops, he was ordered to clean an officer's boots. Andrew refused. The officer struck him with a sword. The scars remained for life. His brother Robert died from illness contracted during captivity. Soon afterwards, his mother died while helping American prisoners. By age 14, Andrew Jackson was completely alone. An orphan. A survivor. A young man carrying deep wounds and an unbeatable determination. Jackson received only a modest education. There would be no Harvard, no College of William and Mary, no years studying philosophy in Europe. Instead, he learned by experience. he studied law and headed west into Tennessee. The frontier offered opportunities unavailable in the older states. There, he became a lawyer, judge, landowner, and political leader. He gained a reputation for toughness. Some admired him, others feared him. Jackson was known for his fierce temper and willingness to defend his honor. He participated in several duels. One duel nearly killed him. A bullet lodged near his heart and remained there for years. Yet somehow, Andrew Jackson kept moving forward. The rough frontier seemed perfectly suited to his personality. The event that transformed Andrew Jackson into a national hero came during the War of 1812. The United States was fighting Great Britain once again. Jackson led American forces in the South. Then came the Battle of New Orleans. In January 1815, British troops attacked American defenses outside the city. Jackson's men were outnumbered by one of the most powerful armies in the world. Yet the Americans held. The British suffered devastating losses. The American victory was overwhelming. Ironically, the war had already ended. A peace treaty had been signed weeks earlier, but news had not crossed the Atlantic. None of that mattered to the American people. To them, Andrew Jackson had defeated the British once again. He became a national hero almost overnight. From that moment forward, many Americans believed Andrew Jackson was destined for the presidency. Jackson first ran for president in 1824. He won the most popular votes. He won the most electoral votes, but he did not win a majority. Under the Constitution, the House of Representatives would decide the election. The House selected John Quincy Adams. Jackson and his supporters were furious. They believed the election had been stolen. They called it a corrupt bargain. Whether that accusation was fair remains debated. What is certain is Jackson never forgot it. For 4 years, he campaigned relentlessly. In 1828, the voters delivered their verdict. Andrew Jackson became President of the United States. Jackson's election marked a turning point in American politics. Previous presidents had largely come from the nation's political and social elite. Jackson represented something different. He was a frontier man, a self-made man, Many ordinary Americans saw him as one of their own. His supporters believed government should serve everyday citizens, not wealthy insiders. Political participation expanded. More Americans became involved in elections. The presidency itself became more powerful and more visible. Jackson's supporters loved him. His opponents feared him. Few presidents have inspired stronger feelings. Two major battles defined Jackson's presidency. The first was his fight against the Second Bank of the United States. Jackson believed the bank concentrated too much power in the hands of wealthy elites. He vetoed its renewal. His supporters praised him for standing up to powerful interests. Critics warned that his actions could damage the economy. The second challenge came from South Carolina. State leaders claimed they could ignore federal tariffs they disliked. Jackson strongly disagreed. Though a defender of states' rights in many situations, he believed the Union must stay intact. His warning was unmistakable. The Constitution had created one nation. No state could simply leave when it disagreed with federal policy. The crisis passed, but future generations would face that same question again. No discussion of Andrew Jackson can avoid the most controversial part of his presidency. In 1830, he signed the Indian Removal Act. The law led to the forced relocation of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands in the Southeast. The most famous removal became known as the Trail of Tears. Thousands of Cherokee men, women, and children died during the journey west. Supporters of the policy believed relocation would reduce conflict and open land for settlement. Critics condemned it then. Historians continue to debate it now. For many Americans, the Trail of Tears remains the darkest chapter in Jackson's presidency. It is impossible to understand Andrew Jackson without confronting this painful reality. His greatest achievements and greatest failures are forever linked together. After leaving office, Jackson returned to his Tennessee home, the Hermitage. His beloved wife, Rachel, had died shortly before he entered the White House. Her loss haunted him for the rest of his life. Even in retirement, politicians sought his advice. He remained one of the most influential men in America. On June 8, 1845, Andrew Jackson died at the age of 78. The orphaned frontier boy had traveled farther than anyone could have imagined. Remember that 13-year-old boy who refused to clean a British officer's boots? The scar from that encounter never disappeared. Neither did the determination. That determination helped Andrew Jackson survive hardship, win battles, and reshape the presidency. It also contributed to decisions that remain deeply controversial nearly 2 centuries later. Jackson's story reminds us that history is rarely simple. Great leaders often leave complicated legacies. Andrew Jackson was a war hero, a champion of the common man, and a defender of the Union, and the architect of policies that brought suffering to thousands. Whether we admire him, criticize him, or do a little of both, one thing is certain: Andrew Jackson changed America. And because he did, his story remains an important part of the American story. I'm Ken, and this is Patriot Hippie. If you liked this video, give me a like. Subscribe to Patriot Hippie, it's free, and share with your friends. Until next time, peace, freedom, and the American story.